clothes felt familiar. Got in the car, no real reason. Just today, I felt I had to go to the autumn sea. Turned on my phone, as always, dbdbCafé song began to play. Before the first line even ended, I was already on the road. The sun hadn't risen and the road was still dreaming. Following the winding coastline, the sea showed itself briefly again and again. Beside the road without street lights, I watched the darkness slowly retreat. The coastal road keeps winding forward, where the waves breathe first at the end. No street lights, just road beside the sea, and my heart drawing closer to the water, though I haven't arrived yet. A piece of me has already drifted beyond the road. At every curve behind me, a piece of my heart slipped away. The music still flowed from my phone, and I hummed along softly like the darkness fading from the window. My thoughts began to feel free. Still far away, but my heart already lay beneath its waves. Maybe I was waiting for someone, or maybe just hoping to be taken. The road went on and I never stopped. The road still curved and twisted, and I wavered with it a little. But the sea stayed beside me in silence, and that alone gave me comfort. This autumn, even without a reason, I had to go to the sea. It's a journey that doesn't need an arrival, a path enough even without its end. At the very last bend in this winding road today, I finally learned to trust the sea. It was the sea, the sonnet of the season I missed so much. Seeped in through the crack in the window. I slowly pressed the brake. The waves had already been waiting for me. When I rolled the window all the way down, the wind touched my face without hesitation. The sunlight lay low, scattering shadows and light across the sand. In that moment, something inside me stopped. I didn't get out of the car, I just looked at the sea. No words needed, no answers expected. That was the sea's way. Every moment driving along the coast seemed to exist for the silence. The autumn sea didn't ask anything. It was simply there, as if it had been waiting for me, quietly, for a very long time. had drifted beyond the beach, and I remained in the driver's seat, slowly dissolving into the scenery. Even the faint hum of the engine felt like a part of the wind here. Now it wasn't joy in having arrived, but peace in simply being still. I forgot the road ahead, forgot where I came from. The sea hadn't brought me here, it had only reminded me that I had already been here. Across memories that followed the coastline, a new season soaked in. Still I said nothing, only watched. This place wasn't a beginning, it was an end that had always existed. Even before I stepped out of the car, I had already reached the sea. In this scene where my heart arrived before my body ever could. Just being here was more than enough. Down to a silent harbor where sea fog wrapped everything in gray. I stopped the car, unsure if I'd arrived, but my heart had already reached the shore. Old fishing boats floated like ghosts, tied to docks that creaked in the wind. A single gull cried into the mist, its sound echoing my own breath. I stepped out with careful feet, cold air clung to my skin. It wasn't the destination I sought, but something was waiting here. This harbor knew stories before I was born. Its fog remembered names I had forgotten. I stood still, the sea breathing slow, and memories returned with the tide. Fisherman nodded without a word, as if he'd seen me in a dream. The salt in the air softened my gaze, and silence no longer felt lonely. But nothing felt like peace. The harbor didn't ask questions, only offered me a place to be still. This harbor, wrapped in sea fog's hush, spoke more than voices ever could. In the quiet I found my answer, and the fog drifted with my thoughts. Waves tapped the dock like soft knocks, the sea let me go. The mist cleared away and the sun rose over the horizon. A single beam swept across the sea. It was so beautiful, it left me speechless. I quietly held my breath and kept that moment in my heart. The sea was calm, the sky so vivid and grand. It felt like seeing you for the first time. Yes, I remember you that day when we stood in silence side by side. Your face glowing in the sunlight, so clear just like now. The autumn sky remains unchanged. The autumn sea still breathes softly. Where have you gone, I wonder, while I'm still standing here? The wind gently tousled your hair. That small smile, your warm touch. Scenes I thought I'd forgotten came and went with the light. The sunrise we watched together came back to me this morning. I lifted my head just like I did back then and looked at the sky and sea at once. The autumn sky still stretches high. The autumn sea quietly sway. If I call out your name, will the wind answer me? Sunlight touches my forehead and the sea wraps around my heart. The sky, the sea, and me. Only now do I realize all those moments were you. Today the sky is so clear and beautiful. I gaze at the sea in silence beneath the sky without a single cloud. The sea simply breathes quietly. Was a sky like this on the day I first met you? I trace back my memories and quietly call your name from somewhere deep inside my heart. The sea says nothing and the sky is just endlessly blue. Seaside falls gently on my shoulder. Through the car window I close my eyes for a moment and recall your voice, as if I might hear it from somewhere. Maybe you too are looking up at the sky, just like that season we once shared. I hope one corner of your heart remains softly lit. The silent sea whispers to me, the gentle sky wraps around my gaze. I think of you again and slowly dissolve into the water. On a fine sky day, the sea says nothing, and in that quietness I feel your breath linger.
I stopped by a seaside bench, walking aimlessly, no trace of anyone having sat here. Just one yellow leaf has quietly fallen. As I stare down at it, did you fall like I did? I ask, like talking to myself. Waves echo from afar, a quiet breeze brushes past my back. A few leaves under the bench lie crushed beneath my feet. I sit down quietly and look up at the sky. The sky is clear, the sea holds its breath. On a day so peaceful, why does my heart ripple like the tide? Autumn always feels like it wants to let something go, but I just sit here in silence, trying to call someone back into my life. At the end of the road, a sign for the last bus stop. It says one bus every few hours, even that has faded with time. I glance at a small cafe on the corner, its sign turned off, and feel a sudden dizziness on the bench. On this bench that belongs to no one, a nameless leaf from a nameless tree and me. For today, just like this, we sit still in the same haze. The autumn sea remains quiet, the sky says nothing at all. I leave the bench behind and walk along the road again. A breeze gently nudges my back, and with a slightly lighter heart, A sudden gust of fierce wind blew, sand stung my eyes. Before I could even turn away, I suddenly remembered you that day. It was the same wind back then, and we couldn't say a word. I closed my eyes to endure it, but my thoughts shook even harder. Memory sharper than sand came rushing in and stopped me right where I stood. Love and even hatred blew like sandstorms and vanished. What remained was the silent sea and a heart still not washed clean. On the surface of this heart, shaken by the fierce wind, your words rise again. Even though I know there's no going back, I keep walking toward that day. Where does this wind come from on this empty shore, where not even the waves speak to someone standing alone? The wind whispers to me it's not over yet. When the sandstorm passed, what remained was the real me, staggering yet still standing. At last, I faced myself. Memories ride the wind again, seeming to drift away, but then return. Still, I keep walking, eyes closed, until this wind ends. When the fierce wind disappears, the sea grows calm once more, and only my footprints remain small, reaching toward the waves. The sun is setting, its orange glow quietly covers the water. The wind no longer says a word, I simply stand still, watching the sun go down. Did you ever look at a sunset like this? The path we once walked together, with long shadows stretched behind us, comes back to me now. The sunset hid everything, and I quietly buried my heart in the collapsing light. Autumn asks, are you still there? Does the setting sunset know autumn? Does it know this heart, that in this very moment of remembering you, I'm still trembling inside? The sunset slowly retreats, and the sky is wrapped in darkness, still standing in the same place. I ask the fading light, the season passes, but do feelings remain?
heart with you scatters in the wind, and as if picking up the pieces, I look to the sky. The setting sun says nothing. Does the setting sun set no autumn? A silent sky, a quiet sea. I call your name in my heart, and once again I am alone. Darkness fully settles, only the sound of waves remains. I turn to leave, but I look back at the place where the sunsets stay, where you and I once stood. A small leaf touched my toe, then was swept away by the waves. Where did it come from? Why did it drift all the way here? No one gives an answer. I watched that leaf until it disappeared, as it drifted farther and farther. Strangely, my heart was tied to it, maybe because I too felt like I was being carried away somewhere. No one asked for directions, just drifting through time beneath the quietly fading sky. I stood in silence, a lost leaf, washed away by the waves, and like that leaf, I felt I had to go somewhere too. In this endless current, I begin to let myself go. Every trace, nothing remains, but that single leaf now lingers somewhere deep inside my heart. Trying to hold on to passing things, may have been nothing but the desire, but that one drifting leaf stopped me in my tracks. because I too felt like I was being carried away somewhere. No one asked for directions, just drifting through time beneath the quietly fading sky. I stood in silence, a lost leaf washed away by the waves, and like that leaf, I felt I had to go somewhere too. In this endless current, I begin to let myself go. The waves keep rolling in, the sand erases every trace. Nothing remains but that single leaf now lingers somewhere deep inside my heart. Trying to hold on to passing things may have been nothing but desire, but that one drifting leaf stopped me in my tracks today. A lost leaf washed away by the waves, and as I stand here, I ask myself, where should I go in this never-ending time? The sun slowly tilts, the sea still holds its silence. I quietly step back, following footprints washed by waves, and begin walking again on the sand. After sending all my love, I somehow found myself back here again. The sea as always says nothing, only watches me with quiet waves. Somewhere beyond the tide, I see the place where you once smiled. My pockets are empty and my heart has shed its layers. I just walked, no one pointed the way, but as always, it was the sea I ended up at. Though it's over, some feelings never truly leave. In the wind that pushes gently from this shifting season. After sending love away, I came back to that sea, like footprints left in the sand. All that remains are stories fading soon, but standing here again, those moments return with the tide. The wind blows in from far away, and I close my eyes for a while, neither sad nor happy. My heart begins to resemble the sea. I wonder, did you ever come back here too? door feels slightly open, and the sea standing by, waiting for me to return. Waves quietly come ashore, carrying old voices within. I walk away slowly and whisper alone one last goodbye to you. I remember your quiet voice that afternoon when sunlight shattered on the water. Your words came in waves rolling gently into me. I remember your thoughtful eyes, the silence between us, every breath held with care in that calm golden moment. The waves always speak in their own way, but somehow I understood that they still carry the stories of you and me from that day. I remember the waves, remember that day too, when we were closest to each other. Your breath, your voice still linger here, whispered by the sea that hasn't forgotten. I remember the warmth of your hand touching mine. We didn't need to speak, we just watched the sea and that silence. It was the deepest conversation we ever had. The waves came in, and I heard that day again. The voice I thought I'd forgotten, still echoing softly in the breeze, in the tide. I remember everything from that day. Your voice, your stillness, your gaze. The sea never stops, still trying to tell me of the moment love stayed with us. I remember, even now, I remember the waves we shared that day in that quiet ocean. I'm still listening to the words we never said. At the end of the coastal road, where I walk thinking of you, I stood hesitating outside a tiny store, then walked out with a small bottle without a word. I headed to the sea's edge to sit on the breakwater. Wind blew wild, seagulls circled low, crying in the air. I pulled out a paper cup, poured in the drink, took a sip, and said nothing as I swallowed. The me from that day was smiling, the me now was quiet. The waves, as if to swallow both of us at once, rose and crashed over the breakwater. Tilting the glass, I looked into who I was that day. Your gaze, your voice, everything brushed past again, like the wind beside me in this single drink. Longing crosses back and forth, my hair blown loose, my skirt soaked through. Still I sat, bracing myself on the breakwater, leaning on no one but the past we shared. I recall the me from that night, eyes shining, voice trembling. The word love sat trembling at the edge of my lips. Tonight, here, I drink it all. Tilting the glass, I let all of that day flow out. The waves still rage, my heart still wavers, and yet again I swallow a sip that tastes like you. Waves crash against the breakwater, and there I sit alone. I swallow my words with liquor, drink the sea in place of tears. Only after emptying the last of our memories do I slowly lift my head and rise to my feet. The waves leapt against the seawall, and the seagulls scattered, frantic in flight. The sea has grown quiet. Once it was full of lovers' whispers. Now only the waves speak their own language. Sunlight spreads faintly over the empty sand. I walk barefoot through the sand, wondering if any laughter remains, if I might step on even a trace. The waves give no reply, they only whisper to me, you are alone now. The sea knows well where love has left. It speaks not in words, but in the spaces where something once lived. The autumn sea's words are silent but deep. They seep quietly into the furthest corners of my heart, a comfort unspoken by anyone. The sea today is offering it to me. One fall, I listen closely, open my heart, and this autumn, as the sea speaks to me, I swallow the words in silence and quietly close my eyes. Autumn is the season for people like me to come to the sea. A season to quietly revisit the loves that I've already left. And the sea, without a word, welcomes them all again. Today the sea holds no color, no gray, no blue, nothing remains in this empty landscape. The islands seem to drift closer, while the sea looked like it was slipping away. Somehow I understood that feeling is farewell, a familiar scene, even to the sea. How many final moments have touched these shores, only to be covered again and again? Oh, sea grown accustomed to loneliness, inside your silence must be layers of web sorrow. Maybe that's why your waves are neither warm nor cold, they simply resemble me. When I who've lost my words gazed at the waves with an empty mind, the sea took one step closer, and there at my soaked feet a small thought flickered that maybe I felt a little less alone, even if only for a moment. Between all that drifts away and all that tries to come near, I was always swaying, but the sea stayed still. Even while I trembled, it remained unchanged. Oh, sea grown accustomed to loneliness, you offered no comfort, you turned away from nothing, you simply stayed, and in that way took a little piece of my sorrow. Today the sea was quieter than ever, and in that quiet I left my heart for just a while to rest. I walked a lot today without saying a word, just following the waves, letting my gaze drift with the clouds. If someone had asked, I might have simply said I just wanted to walk sand beneath my feet was damp, and the sunlight had turned a shade of orange. A couple passed by laughing briefly. Their joy brushed past me, then faded. I returned to the rhythm of my own steps. The sunset sank slowly lower, and at its edge the sea lay down quietly. As the sun dipped beneath the waves, my heart too began to fall still. Walking along with the sunset, I realized the day had already slipped away. Without a word, so much had passed me by, and of it all I held on to nothing, just the sea and the sunset for a little while. The soles of my feet began to ache. Sand had gathered inside my shoes, but I didn't stop. I don't know why, I just felt like walking until the darkness arrived, until the sunset disappeared. But it touched my heart with its light instead, and I received it as if sipping something warm, letting it fill me slowly. Walking along with the sunset, the sky and the sea had become one. Footsteps of others faded behind, and I walked quietly with only my shadow. Then at some point, even the sunset disappeared, and night arrived. I tucked the last light of the day into a corner of my heart and gently came to a stop. What does the seagull sing? Cutting through the wind, drifting between sea and sky. With its small body, what does it remember? What is it trying to convey? I've watched this sea for a long time, through stormy days and still ones. Waves crashing like anger, or resting in complete silence. And above it all, the seagull kept flying. When the sea had too many voices, the seagull stayed quiet. When the sea said nothing at all, the seagull cried out. What was it replacing with that cry? What does the seagull sing? I still ask myself. The waves collapse, the clouds drift on, and somewhere between them a cry rises toward the sky. For whom is it sung? When my heart was most at peace, that cry came from far away, as if it had started inside me like a language only silence could understand. but in its voice I heard my own. Its sound was the face of every sea I had crossed, and now the door to my stillness. What does the seagull sing from the closest place to my heart? Its cry never wavered, clearer than any spoken word. It touched something in me, so once again I ask, what does the seagull sing beneath the seagull's wings? The sea takes a quiet breath. Its voice doesn't fade, it simply sinks deeper into the silence within me. The sea was always in the same place, no matter how many waves broke, no matter how many seasons changed. It never left its post. It was always there and always the same. I walked the same road over and over, or so I wanted to believe. But on that road I repeated the same mistakes, regretted the same regrets, and fell in love as if for the first time again. Human beings are made of repetition, and I was proof. Everything I believed to be new was only something long repeated. The sea always remains in the same place, but I was always leaving for somewhere. I was more familiar with departing than with staying. I wasn't someone who remained, I was someone who repeated. After walking for so long, I stood again before the sea, and I wanted to ask, why don't you change? Why don't you tremble like I do? But the sea only moves softly without an answer. Now I understand, to repeat the same mistake is a kind of rebirth in the cycles I once cursed. I was changing slowly, almost invisibly. The sea always remained in the same place, and I passed by it again and again, learning a little more of myself each time. Will I one day be able to stay in one place, remain as oneself? Today the sea was the same as ever, and once again I stood before it, revisiting who I was, even if I never touch it, even if I only look from afar. The sea always remains in the same place. The dawn air brushes against my cheek, cold yet somehow kind. I pause to watch the last wave and let out a light breath. Then I turn my steps. The sea still remains in its place. I come already know, even without a word. Now I choose not to hold on, but to let go. It is the sea I longed for, and the heart I wandered through. Yet even longing itself now quietly settles down, leaving the autumn sea. I do not look back, the stillness that stayed there, and the traces of myself left behind. I leave them all and walk on, carrying the sea within me. On the road ahead, sunlight begins to spread gently. I pull my collar close and feel the edge of the season. It is now a time when I no longer need to ask. The sea teaches me that letting go may be a greater love than staying, and so I comfort myself once again. Leaving the autumn sea, I quietly grow older. Everything remains the same, only my heart has changed a little, and I feel grateful for that. The last breath of wind pushes gently at my back. Without a word, I pass the sea, I pass the season, and quietly walk toward the next meet. The autumn sea is wide, endlessly embracing, quietly holding me close. All of that wistful tenderness resembles you. Even without words, the sea takes in the waves of my heart. Sorrow, longing, all are gently swayed within, and in that stillness I see you. Resemblance is not in the eyes or the face, but in the texture of the love I carried with every season passing by. The sea grows closer to your form. The autumn sea resembles you, a deep and quiet breath. The warmth and stillness that surround me. Here before the sea, I call your name, and that name becomes the song of the waves. Far off the horizon burns red. The sea gathers the light in its arms. Within it I realize love never disappears. Its shape may change, but within that vastness it still lives. repetition, but a deepening the sea has kept the shadow of you, and within it I meet you again. The autumn still resembles you, a warmth without words, like waves that endlessly return. Within it I still feel you, you. The sea remains in its place today as always. I quietly close my eyes, you to see and the season, holding all those resemblances. I slowly walk toward the next